All right, welcome. In this video, we'll be dealing with the sign up page, the create account page. And this is what the sign up page looks like. We have the main part, which has this gradient background. Then we have the form. Okay. So we have the form input, we have the submit button, we have this OAuth part. All right. So on the OAuth part, we have Google button, and then we have GitHub button. And beneath we have this question: do you already have an account? If you have an account, then we have a link to the sign in page. Okay, so without much talks, let's get to work. Okay, so the first thing we are going to be doing is to create a sign up page. Okay, so we are going to go to directory. Inside of this app directory, in your source directory, inside of the app directory, we are going to create a folder. So we are going to be grouping all of our authentication pages. We'll be grouping them in the same parent folder, so that our directories, our pages will be much more organized. So we are going to have a group route here. Okay, so this is not going to reflect on your link. Okay, so it's just like a route group. Okay, so inside of this now, we are going to create a sign up page. Okay, so I'm going to create a file now. The file is going to be inside of the sign up directory, and inside of the sign up directory, we are going to have page.tsx. Okay, so that's going to be where our sign up page is. All right, so inside of this place now, we can now create our page. I'm going to use that snippet. Okay, so that's going to create the page for me. We can call the page sign up. All right, let's call it sign up so that it's more descriptive. All right, so we have a sign up. Okay, I'm going to save that now. So if I click on create account page, it's going to direct me to that page. Okay, all right, so now we have a sign up page. The first thing we're going to be doing is to create our main component, our main HTML component. All right, so I'm going to create that now. So we are going to be giving it this styles. It's going to be flex container to centralize this form. And then we give it this gradient background. All right, to save our time, I'm just going to copy the styles. All right, so we have numerous styles there. Okay, so I'm going to paste it here. If we save, then we're going to have our page. Okay, so now you can see we have this gradient to bottom right, starting from here to bottom right. That is the direction from indigo 500 via purple 500 to pink 500. That is the gradient. Okay, and we give it a height of 100 v height minus 5 frame, the 5 frame being the nav bar, the height of the nav bar. Okay, so inside of this now, we are going to be having a container, this container that is containing the form, right? So we are going to be having a div container for that. Okay, so we are going to have a div. All right, and inside of the div, we are going to be having heading 2. All right, inside of the div, we are going to have heading 2. That is the one that is going to be having the create account statement. Okay, so we are going to give it a width of give it a full width. I'm going to close that. Give it a full width, max width of let's give it large, not medium, space y8. All right, that is going to be the space between this heading 2 and the form. All right, so rounded, let's give it XL, that is border radius. Okay, background of white. We're not giving the background any opacity. Okay, let's give it a padding of 8. All right, and the shadow of 2xl. All right, so here we are going to have create account. That is the heading. All right, and the styles, I'm just going to copy the styles to save time. Okay, so I'm going to paste that, give it a margin top of 6, mt6, that is 1.5 frame. We centralize it, then give it a font size of 3xl, that is 30 pixels, and we bolden it, and color of gray 900. So after the heading now, we're going to be having our form. All right, so we'll be creating a custom component for our form. So for now, let's create a comment here to signify that we'll be having the signing up form here. Okay, so let's say form for signing up. We come back to that. So after the form, we have this statement. All of these are going to be inside of the form. So we come back to that. We create a custom component for that, but beneath it, we have this statement that is asking if the user already has an account. So we are going to have link to sign in. Okay, so here we are going to have a paragraph. Okay, and inside of the paragraph we have a link. Okay, I'm just going to copy this. Okay, the styles for the paragraph. All right. Okay, and inside of the paragraph we are going to ask a question. Already have an account. Okay, so there we are going to have a link to the sign up page. All right, I'm going to have a sign in, not sign up, sign in. Okay, then we are going to say sign in. Okay, so we need to style this. I'm going to import the link now from next. Okay, so we need to style the link also. I'm going to give it a class name, then so we'll give it a font weight of 600, text color 500, I miss, not 600. Give it a color of gray and on hover. So if I save this now, we are going to have our comment, our link. Okay, so this is what it's. Let me click on this. This is what it looks like on our full screen. Okay, so now let's work on our sign up form. This is where the majority of the work is on this page. Okay, so we are going to go to our components directory. Okay, so these are components. Inside of the components, we are going to create a forms directory, or let's just create a file. So here we are going to have a forms directory, and inside of the forms directory, we are going to be having a sign up form component. So let's call it sign up form.tsx. I'm going to enter that. So that's going to create the file for me. Okay, so we'll be grouping everything that has to do with forms. We'll be grouping them. Every component that has to do with form, we'll be grouping them inside of this forms directory. Okay, so here I'm going to create my form, my sign up form. All right, so I'm just going to make this a form component. All right, so the form is having a class of empty that is margin top of 2 rem, and then we have a space y, that is going to be the space between each input. Okay, so I'm going to use emmet for that. All right, for now let's get rid of action. We get to that when we are dealing with form submission. Okay, so inside of our form we have a div, okay, with class of space y4. That's going to be the space between each input. All right, this is going to be the space between the input and the submit button, while this one is going to be the space between each form input. Okay, if I save that now, I'm not going to see anything yet other than space. Okay, so now we need to create our form input. Okay, but the thing is, we are going to be having a series of form inputs. We have numerous form inputs here, so we are just going to create a custom component so that we'll be able to reuse the input component. So for now, let's just create the component down here, but we are still going to move it to a dedicated file, right? So I'm going to create a form component. So I'm going to have my function. All right, and then we're going to call it form input. Okay, form input. All right, and then our form is going to be accepting some props. So TypeScript is going to be asking for types. So let's create the props. So the props is going to be an interface. All right, then we're going to call it form input props. All right, okay, so our form is expecting the ID of the form. Okay, the ID is going to be string. All right, it's also expecting name. Okay, so name is also going to be string. It's expecting type. All right, so type is also going to be string. It's expecting label. Okay, so label is also going to be string. All right, and it's expecting autocomplete. All right, autocomplete. So it's also going to be string. That's all our props for now. Okay, so we are going to be passing the props here. So we are going to have ID. Okay, label. So those are the two that we need directly, and then we are going to be gathering all others into a props object. So we'll be using the rest operator for that. Okay, so we have a props. Okay, these are the props we'll be needing directly in our element. So the rest of the props, your name, your type, and the autocomplete, so we'll be gathering them inside of this props object. Okay, so now inside of the form input, we are going to be returning. So here we are going to have a div. Let me see if this goes. Let me just accept this. All right, so okay, we need to pass our form input props here. Okay, so that TypeScript can keep quiet. All right, so here we have this div. We have a label. All right, so okay, this works. And all right, so this also goes. Okay, so we have this is going to be the label for each input, and we are going to be passing the ID so that the label can focus on the input. So all other props will be breaking them using this spread operator. Okay, so the rest of the props will be breaking them into the input using this rest operator, and then the class name this is not all the classes we have. So I'm just going to copy the classes. All right, then I'm going to paste it here. The class is kind of anonymous. All right, should work. Okay, so what is the error here? All right, I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, so now we have defined our form input component. So now we can now use it in our form. All right, we are still going to move this to a dedicated file. Right, so this is just so that we have a smooth workflow first. Copilot is kind of intruding into my workflow. Okay, so here we are going to have each form input. Okay, so we are going to have a form input component. Okay, so let me close that for now. All right, and the form input is expecting all these props: ID, name, type, label, and autocomplete. So the ID for the first one, as you can see here, the first input is name, so we are going to have it to be name. All right, and then we also have the name of our inputs to also be name. That is the name of our user. Okay, and the type is going to be text. Okay, so we have type text. All right, and then we have the label. The label is going to be name. Okay, and the autocomplete. So we want the form to have the autocomplete ability, and that is going to be name. All right, so we have name. So if we save that now, okay, so we should have a name input here. We are not having it because we've not rendered our sign up form in the sign up page. So here we are going to render our sign up form. Okay, sign up form. So we're going to render that, and then I'm going to save that. All right, so now you can see our name input. Okay, so let me zoom this in so you can see this a little bit. All right, I think that's okay. So that's our name input. Okay, so now we need email, password, and confirm password. Okay, so we're going to go back to our sign up form. Okay, so we can just duplicate this for email, for password. First of all, let's do for email. Okay, so this is going to be emailed. This is going to be email also. Okay, the type is going to be email. Type is going to be email, and the label is going to be email address. Okay, all right. And for autocomplete, we're going to pass email for it. Okay, so if we save that, we are going to have our email input. You can see how easy it is now because we have a custom component for our form. All right, but if you look at password and confirm password, you can see that they have an horizontal alignment. Both of them will be inside of the same container. Okay, so after that, after the email input, we are going to have a container here. Okay, so we are going to give it a margin top of 5. All right, and it's going to be a grid container, not flex now. Okay, so let's just use grid for easy implementation. Okay, and then we are going to give it a gap of 1 rem. Okay, so from small screens, as from small screens, we are going to give it, we're going to turn it to 2-column view. So it's going to be GC2. All right. Okay, so by default, it's going to have 1-column view, but as from small screens, that's mean width of 40 rem. So it's going to have 2-column views. Okay, so inside of this container now, we can now have a password and confirm password. Okay, so but I want the name to be confirm underscore password, so that when we are using JavaScript to process the form, that hyphen is not going to create a problem, because JavaScript is going to consider it as minus. Okay, so if we save this now, we are going to have a password and confirm password input. Okay, it is going to be on a single on a vertical alignment on small screens, but on larger screens are going to have it as 2-column views. Okay, so we are using a grid container for that. All right, now let's move our form input, let's move it into a dedicated file, so that this sign up form file will not be overcrowded. So I'm just going to highlight this, then I'm going to move it out. So we are going to create a form input component inside of this form directory. Okay, so we're going to have a form input.tsx. All right, so I'm just going to paste that here. So we need to export this. Okay, we can export it as the default export, so we're going to use export default for that. All right, so inside of our sign up form, we need to import the form inputs. Okay, so we are good to go now with our inputs, and after the input we have the submit button. So now let's deal with the submit button. All right, I'm going to, let's just create a dedicated file for it, because we'll be using the submit button in numerous places. We also use it for our sign-in form, we use it for reset form and all that. So we are just going to create a dedicated file for it. We make it a component of it so that we can easily reuse it. So we come inside of this forms directory, and then we are going to create a submit form that .tsx. Okay, RFC. Okay, so React snippet extension. This is supposed to be submit button, not submit form. Sorry, need to rename that. Submit button. Okay, button. All right, so this is submit. We need to select that. Submit button. All right, we need to save that. Okay, so the extension I'm using, just in case you don't know, it's the ES7 React snippet extension. This is the extension that is doing the snippet writing for me. Okay, so if you want that, you can as well install that at your own convenience if you want it. Okay, so now let's go to our submit button. So this is going to be, it's going to be a button component. Okay, so but let's define the props that this is going to be accepting. It's going to be accepting is pending it's going to be accepting is pending prop. Okay, it's also going to accept pending test. Okay, so when we are submitting our form, so the pending text is what will be displayed. And when the form is not submitting on a normal state, then we are going to have the default text. Okay, so we'll be passing all this as default. All this, we'll be passing all this as props so that we can easily customize them. Okay, now we need to pass the props here. Okay, so we can just create an interface for that. I'm going to come at the top here. So we're going to have an interface, submit button props. Okay, I'm going to close that. So its pending is going to be boolean, either true or false. Okay, and pending text is going to be string, and default text is also going to be string. So we'll be passing the submit button props here. This is one of the downside of TypeScript. Is always more verbose, but it saves you a lot of error along the way, which is net gain. Okay, so now we need to pass a type of submit to our button that is necessary. Okay, so what is the issue here? All right, so it's supposed to be an attribute, not a text, right? So we have type and submit. Okay, we have a submit type, and then we are going to be disabling the submit button anytime the form is submitting. Okay, so we're going to pass the pending value here. So you know pending is going to be boolean. So when it is true, then the submit button will be disabled. When it is false, the submit button will be active. Okay, so we have a lot of text here, a lot of class name, a lot of classes. So I'm just going to copy the classes to save our time. All right, when you are coding along, you can always pause the video, all right, and write out the styles. Okay, this is just to save the time of all of us so that the videos are not unnecessarily lengthy. Okay, so we are going to come inside of our button. All right, so inside of our button, if it is pending, okay, if it is pending, then we are going to be displaying a loading state. Okay, I'm going to close this bracket. All right, so here we'll be displaying a loader cycle from Lucid React. Okay, so we are going to have the loader cycle component from Lucid React loader cycle. Okay, so this is supposed to come from Lucid React. If VS Code is not importing that, can as well import it here. Okay, so we have a import. Okay, so loader cycle from Lucid React. Okay, this is cycle, not cycler. Loader cycle from Lucid React. So we need to style it. All right. Okay, so we can just combine this to size. Right, it's a new table CSS class. Okay, we don't need to give it a text of white. Okay, so when the form is submitting, so we'll be having this this cycling loader. So that is what this one is for. And so we need to pass this spin animation so that it keeps spinning when the form is submitting. And in front of it, we're going to be passing our pending test. Okay, so if it is signing up, we can say signing up. If it is signing in, our pending test can be signing in. Okay, so we need to wrap both of them in. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down here, right? So we need to wrap them inside of a single parent. You know, your JXS must always return a single JSX. So here we are going to be passing our default test. All right, so if its pending is true, we're going to be having this loader cycle that will be spinning, and then the pending test that will pass to our button. But if it is false, then we are going to have this default test. Okay, now let's render our submit button in our form. All right, so we're going to go to our sign up form after this container. So we're going to come here. All right, so we're going to have the submit button. Okay, so don't forget to import your submit button. Okay, then we are going to be passing the props. So it is expecting the spending prop. For now, we are just going to give it a value of false as a default value. When we start processing our form, then we are going to pass a dynamic value to it. Okay, and our pending test for signing up is going to be signing up. All right, so it's going to be signing up, and the default test is going to be sign up. Right, so we're going to have a sign up. Okay, so if we save that, we are supposed to have a submit button here. Okay, they are too close to each other, so this submit button is supposed to be outside of this div. This div is the one that we used to give spaces to the input. Okay, so we are going to move the div up, all right, so that it's not inside of the. Okay, so now we have more space, and after that, now we need to work on our OAuth button, so the Google and the GitHub button. Okay, so what we have currently is this on a wider screen, and it is this on a smaller screen. We are going to create a dedicated file also for our OAuth buttons, because we'll be using them both on the sign up page and on the sign in page. So we are going to create them. We are going to be putting them in a dedicated component so that we can easily reuse them both on the sign up and sign in. Okay, so we are going to go to our components, all right, and inside of forms we're going to create a file. So we're going to call it that's our OAuth buttons, okay, .tsx. All right, so we can create a component for that. Okay, so the OAuth button is going to have a parent container. Okay, so we are good with that. Sorry, so I'm only supposed to clear this. It's not accepting any props anyway. For now, we are not accepting any input. Okay, so inside of this parent container, we're going to be having two divs. Okay, so one for, let me multiply it by 2 to get two divs. Okay, so the first container is going to be for this, and the second is going to be for the buttons. All right, so let's first deal with this part, this all continue with. So let's deal with that for now first. Okay, so we're going to have a class of relative. Okay, let me give a space here, and then we can call this OAuth buttons. All right, so inside of this we are first going to have a container. Okay, let's see if this is actually correct. Absolute inside 0 flex and item center. I think it is a bit correct. Let me close my sidebar. Okay, this actually goes to, and all right, I think Copilot is kind of good this time around. Okay, so let's save that first. So we're going to have, okay, I think we've not rendered our components. We are going to go to sign up form after the submit button. Then we are now going to render our whole auth. This is one of, okay, so we're going to render our OAuth buttons. Okay, so we are supposed to, okay, so you can see or continue with after this net, we're going to have our Google and our GitHub button. Okay, so we are going to be doing all of that inside of this container. Okay, we are going to give this a margin top of 1.5 frame, which is MT6. Okay, and then we give it, we make it a flex container, and flex call by default, and we give it a gap of 3. All right, so as from extra small screen, I defined a custom a custom breakpoint. I'm going to show you now in the CSS file, but let's close this first. So extra small, that is from 480 pixels. Okay, so we are going to make it 2-column view. So we are going to have grid cost 2 as from 180 pixels. All right. So if you go to your CSS file, where's the CSS globals.css. Okay, so I have a custom breakpoint that I defined here. Okay, it's already in your starter file. So this is the custom breakpoint. This extra small breakpoint, I gave it 180 pixels, which is 30 rem. All right, so that is why this one is going to be effective. If you don't define that, this breakpoint, this media query is not going to work. All right, so now we can now have our OAuth buttons. First, let's deal with the Google OAuth button. So now we're going to have button. All right, and this one, ensure that you give it this type attribute. The type is going to be button. You know, we already have a submit button in the form. Okay, so we need to ensure that this one is of the type button, not type submit. All right, so that we don't have inconsistent behavior of our form. This is our submit button, while these ones are normal buttons. All right, so you ensure that you give it type of button. Okay, so we have a quite number of styles here. I'm just going to copy that. All right, and you can always pause your video and write out your styles. Okay, so we make it inline flex and width of full, justify center, and all that. Okay, so inside of the form, we're going to be having two things. We have the text, okay, which is going to be Google, and then we're also going to have the Google icon from React icon. So we're going to have the icon, which is going to be FA Google. So we have a FA Google from React icon. All right, so we're going to import that, and we also give it some styles. So we're going to have a class name, okay. So margin right of 2 to give it space from the to space it from the text. Okay, and then we give it a size of 5. All right, size, width, and height of 1.25 rem. If I save that, then we're going to have the Google button. Okay, so by default the width is full, so it's going to be having the same width as its parent container, but as from this extra small screen, which is 180 pixel, we're going to be having 2-column views. Okay, so after the Google button, we're going to be having the GitHub button. They are actually having the same style, so you can just duplicate this and change this to GitHub. All right, so this is going to be GitHub. All right, I'm going to change this to FA GitHub. So that is going to be FA, then you have GitHub. Don't forget to import that. So, but I'm banking on VS Code for now. So you can see now we have, okay, so we're going to change the text to GitHub also. GitHub. All right. Now we have our buttons. We have our submit form, our sign up form complete. Okay, so this is what it looks like on a wide screen. If I put it on the normal zoom level, this is what we have on the normal zoom level. Okay, I think this one is also now on the normal zoom level. Okay, so this is the normal zoom level. Okay, so we have it like this. All right, so I'm only zooming in so that I can see it much more clearly. Okay, so that will be all for this video. In the next video, we'll be dealing with the sign in page. If you click on this now, you are going to see that we still have a 404 page. Okay, so that's what we'll be dealing with in the next lesson. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel so that you have more videos like this, and as the following the subsequent videos are coming in, you'll be notified. Okay, so thank you for subscribing. The link to the project files will be in the description, and related videos, the previous ones and the upcoming ones. So I'll be seeing you in the next video.